see stream is starting anymore. Hello, everybody, and welcome into the show tonight. Wasted Talent with Josh Beard, as usual, Tuesdays and Thursdays, normally at 9 o'clock, but at 8 o'clock tonight because I have a special guest. Slasher is with me tonight, and Rod Breslau, right? That's how I pronounce it. Okay,
you did it.
I did it first time. I didn't even have to try very hard at all. It's pretty self-explanatory. But I've been following you on Twitter for a really, really long time. Obviously, you are just absolutely huge in the esports scene, and that's something that I've been trying to be a part of and finally am a part of now, even though I'm like infantile compared to some other people where I didn't think I was. But I've been following you for a while, and this is a geek out moment for me to have you on the show right now, and I really, really appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, well, unlike my other colleagues in the space, they'd be really old guard. They'd probably push you out. They wouldn't let you to come in. They say you don't know shit. You're from the outside. Why the fuck are we catering to you? You know, I am more inclusive, okay? I like to bring everyone together, and I will be the one to personally welcome you. It's okay, all right? Don't listen to this guy.
Thank you. Yes, I love the fact that you're personally welcoming me, because there are times, you know, it's weird. I feel like I'm in that weird space because I'm in traditional sports media and I'm trying to get into esports, where I'm kind of in between, where I'm not sportsy enough for the sports guys, but I'm not esportsy enough for the esports guys. And they're like, you're just a gamer. You're from tradition. So I don't know if you know Gerard Kelly. Gerard Kelly, I work with him. He works at the company that I'm with. And he told me, he's like, oh, you're such a sportscaster. That's one of the first things he ever said to me in my entire time of knowing him was, oh, you're such a sportscaster. So it's nice that somebody actually includes me for once. I'm not too sportsy.
Well, you know, it's okay. I mean, even if you play those scrub sports games, I still know that you want to be part of the community based for me, even if you can't play a game at all, even if you're just terrible. I have no competitive skill. I work with people all the time in my industry who are just as bad at video games, and they talk themselves up quite often. So you know what? You're not too much different from them.
I think people. I think people that think that they're really good at video games, like better at video games than they think they are, they might be more frustrating than athletes that think that they are better at the sport that they play than they are.
Well, that's me.
Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of me too.
That is, right? I am that person. Well, what are your games?
Man, what aren't my games? I think Destiny's one that I really play mostly. I've been trying to grind a lot of stuff on there. I've been playing a lot of TFT, old school games, TF2. Mostly shooters, RPGs, some strategy, things like that. I mean, like if you could imagine like a frat bro that becomes more of a gamer. That's essentially my trajectory of like, Call of Duty's awesome. What's this World of Warcraft thing? And then it was just all downhill from there.
Wait, do you have a main game right now?
Destiny 2. Destiny 2 is probably hands down my main game right now. Competitively, it's Apex. Apex Legends is probably my main competitive game right now. Whenever I have time to actually play games, that is. I don't have as much time anymore as I used to.
So no sports games?
Well, I mean, 2K. I mean, NBA 2K. I'm not a huge Madden fan. I like MLB The Show, but yeah, like, it's weird. I'm a traditional sports guy, but I don't necessarily particularly love all the sports games, except for the NBA game, except for 2K. That's it.
Never NHL?
No.
Never.
See, I grew up in Texas. I'm not a hockey guy. And never FIFA because I suck at it. I can't play games I suck at.
Okay. Are you like okay at 2K?
Yeah, I'm pretty good at 2K. I feel like if I went and tried to play some of the guys from the 2K league, I feel like I might actually be able to score a few points against them. I think I'd do kind of halfway okay.
That's like saying, you know, if you got a chance to go up against like some Apex pros, you would get a few kills on them.
I probably would. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, we just talked about guys who talk up their skills a little bit too much. Yeah, I think maybe I could. But I'm also well renowned in the Houston sports media world for guaranteeing that I could average 10 points in the Chinese basketball league, which nobody believes. I can guarantee you, just off of 3-point shooting alone, I could average 10 points in the Chinese basketball league.
In real life.
In real life.
You could average 10 points a game.
Absolutely. At 6 foot, 255 pounds, I could average 10 points in the Chinese basketball league.
I do not believe you.
Nobody does.
I wonder why. I wonder why.
It's probably something that has to do with the 6 foot, 255 pounds thing. Which while we're on basketball, which that's the main reason I wanted to have you on is you were a huge NBA fan. You were a huge Knicks fan, and there's one tweet that I saw from you that said it was just talking about like how great NBA free agency was, how great it was. Like it's the most exciting thing in the world. I've tried to tell people for years that the NBA free agency period is like my summertime Christmas. I might even like it more than actual Christmas because the NBA free agency period is incredible. We saw a lot of moves, and I wanted to have you on to talk about the Knicks so you could vent and you could have a safe space where you can talk about your frustrations. But before we get to that, I have to talk about the news that literally dropped about 15 minutes before we went on, where the Rockets just traded Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook. It's Chris Paul and 2 first-round picks for Russell Westbrook. And that just shows how crazy NBA free agency is. It shows how crazy the NBA is in general with all the movement and everything. But for you being the basketball fan, how do you feel about a team that has both Russell Westbrook and James Harden playing on the same team together?
How do I feel?
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
Do I feel
as
that
a
they're
Knicks
playing
fan
on the same team again? I didn't give a shit the first time. I still don't fucking care the second time.
Do you think they're going to be any good?
But you're asking me as a Knicks fan. As a basketball fan, I think it's fantastic. I cannot fucking wait for next season. It's actually going to be like amazing. The West has been so good for so long, and this might be like the best Western Conference of all time with the way the current lineup of things. It's probably made the parity at the bottom much lower, but the top end is going to be just so competitive that I really can't wait. As a Knicks fan, I don't give a shit at all what happens to the Rockets ever. I can only remember 1994 in my brain like over and over. So, and that will never go away. So I don't mind that Mr. Morey, and he's great, by the way. I've been able to interview Daryl Morey at an MLG event like 4 or 5 years ago. I got to speak at his MIT Sloan conference once a few years ago and talk with him a bunch. He's really cool with esports. He's been a big believer in it for a long time. Was on the board of MLG way before like traditional sports people came in. So great dude, awesome dude. Will not shed a tear if you guys lose from here for forever.
So full disclosure before we continue, and I know you can't see me because in my excitement for Russell Westbrook, I broke my secondary camera, but full disclosure, I am from Dallas, and so I am a huge Dallas Mavericks fan, and that might also be a soft spot for you as a Knicks fan as well, because we have a young gentleman by the name of Kristaps Porzingis on that team. So I'm not a Rockets fan, even though I cover the Rockets. Well, I am a Rockets fan. I should not say that whenever I do a show covering Houston sports. I am a Rockets fan, everybody. Just everybody erase that from your memory. I need like a Men in Black blinker. Okay. But I am a Mavericks fan first, and then I'm a Rockets fan. But like it's
you don't have two. You
can't have two.
You don't have fucking two.
Yeah,
no, man.
I can have two because I cover them.
No.
Mavericks are clearly number one. The Mavericks are hands down my number one. If they have to face off each other, I hope that the ground collapses underneath the Rockets and they disappear off the face of the earth. But I have two teams.
Let's just say I started doing some sports coverage because I know my shit, and I have let's just say I start doing some sports coverage for some reason, right? I am not. Do you hear me?
I hear you. I'm listening.
Going to root for the Nets next year.
Really? At all? Not even a little bit?
It's going to be fucking awesome in the arena, I'm sure. Like, going to the Barclays and watching Durant and Kyrie is going to be sick. Totally guaranteed. Again, they can go fuck themselves. No, I do not want them to win. Them losing will make me feel good. Not disputing how awesome it's going to be in the arena and, like, bring some actual, like, atmosphere to the overall city, because some people will be happy. Like, people in Brooklyn will be, happy that this is going on.
Right.
But me, personally, am not a bitch. No. If I start covering the NBA, I'm not suddenly going to be a Nets fan, all right? And so you are a Mavs fan, take that shit, put the Rockets
a Rockets
away,
fan,
okay?
and a Rockets fan. I'm also a Cowboys and a Texans fan, which I get a lot of shit in this city for that too. Yeah,
you should.
I shouldn't.
What's wrong with you?
I grew.
No. As a kid, pick between the Rangers and the Islanders, and I picked the Rangers. As a kid, pick between the Yankees and the Mets, and I picked the Yankees, and you pick between the Giants and the Jets, I picked the Giants. Yeah, I picked all the winners. I'm not a fucking idiot, okay? Like all my buddies out on Queens and Long Island, okay? I picked champions. That's what you do here in New York. No, you're not allowed to like all 8 teams. I learned that as a New Yorker. You cannot like them all.
See, if I grew up in New York,
absolutely pathetic.
If I grew up in New York, I wouldn't like all 8 teams. I would have chosen a team. But the problem is like last year I was the lead reporter for the radio station I used to work at for the Texans. I was in the locker room with all those guys, and so it's hard not to like them as dudes and then end up loving the team because of it. Like that's the problem that I run into mostly whenever I cover these sports. Like my Dallas teams are clearly my number one. And if the Dallas versus Houston, I'm choosing Dallas every time. But I can have secret secondary teams on the side. I buy them an apartment. I visit them whenever I have free time. Make sure they don't run into my number one primary team. You know what I mean? It's just have my side piece teams that nobody really has to know about. That's what I'm allowed to do with Houston sports, I feel like.
Okay, no, don't actually accept that answer at all, honestly, other than like you need to keep professional standing. Even that, yeah. I think is like a bullshit answer almost.
That you know what? Everybody in the city thinks it's a bullshit answer. Everybody back home thinks it's a bullshit answer. So that you are literally right there in the majority. Everybody calls bullshit on me, but you know what? I don't care. I don't care what anybody thinks. I will like whatever teams I damn well please. And if you keep this going, I might have to be a Nets fan. I might have to end up being a Nets fan after this. So Westbrook for James Harden. You were talking a minute ago about the Western.
I want to know what you think. Okay.
I'm gonna give it. Don't worry. You're my guest. I gotta let the guest go first. Don't worry. I will give my opinion all day long. But with Westbrook and James Harden together, them in the Western Conference, you talked a minute ago about how deep the Western Conference is. And when I was looking at it the other day, I mean, we're legitimately talking about a conference that has 11 or 12 teams that all have a legitimate chance to compete for the Western Conference title, to compete to play for the NBA Finals. It's absolutely incredible to see how deep this Western Conference is right now. You've got the Clippers, you've got the Lakers, the Nuggets are still there, the Trailblazers got better, and the Warriors somehow pulled off some magical sign and trade for D'Angelo Russell, and now you've got 2 former MVPs playing on the same team together. The biggest fear with Russell Westbrook and James Harden playing together is how are they going to synergize with the types of players that they are? They're both super ball dominant. James Harden needs that ISO system with a guy in the dunk, which it's incredible that they got Russell Westbrook and didn't have to give up Clint Capella. And they somehow unloaded the Chris Paul contract, which was an albatross and shitty contract. But Daryl Morey pulled his Morey magic again. He did. But Russell Westbrook wasn't a great shooter last year. He shot just over 30%, or I think for the majority of the season, shot under 30% from 3. He shot under 40% from the field. And so the last 2 years, he hasn't been a great shooter. But Houston fans were clamoring for Jimmy Butler. And they're like, oh, Jimmy Butler's the best player in Philadelphia. He wasn't. Joel Embiid is the best player in Philadelphia. Jimmy Butler's a good player, and he's a better shooter than Russell Westbrook. But overall, as a player and a talent, Russell Westbrook is hands down the better player. We're talking about a guy that's an all-star every year, and he's a former MVP, and he's averaging triple-doubles. So the fear is that he's not going to be able to shoot well. How are they going to play together? But just the pure talent that they're going to have on the court with those 2 guys starting in the lineup is just absolutely sexy to me.
I mean, Chris Paul's shooting wasn't great the last 2 years. I mean, he's been kind of fucked up since the injury. I mean, completely honest. So I think, Houston's wanted to get rid of Paul, especially considering what happened in the playoffs between Harden and Paul. This is always going to be inevitable anyway. For them to turn that into a trade for Westbrook, I mean, 2 picks and I think 2 pick swaps also is a lot. But I mean, that's honestly the best move that the Rockets could have made. I think that, they're probably going to each take like 40 shots a game, and they'll probably be the only 2 people shooting for the Rockets for the whole year. But I don't necessarily know if that is the problem. It feels like defense is going to be a bigger issue than anything anyway. I don't think Paul and Westbrook is not fixing on any of those problems. So I don't necessarily know if this fixes some of the bigger problems they have, which is a lack of a deep front or a big front court and playing D and actually running down the court and getting back on defense. But they probably, I could see, I don't know how this is possible, they should get even more points than usual. The offense should be even better, I guess. So maybe in the end that'll like shake itself out. But as we've seen, all the other Western Conference teams, most of them have pretty decent front courts.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be hard for, I think, Houston. Actually, I think this is really good for them. But the West has gotten so good, it's going to be hard.
I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, that was if you go back in the playoffs with what was that the Rockets struggled with. They didn't really struggle with scoring points. They struggled with rebounding, where it just. Yeah. I've been a Clint Capella fan since before he was in the league. He still hasn't played basketball for that long, but you literally had him staring at balls bouncing off of the rim, and he's just staring at it. And I'm like, Clint, go get the rebound, man. Go get the fucking ball. It's right in front of you. And he would stare at it. And I love PJ Tucker. I love Eric Gordon. I love Gerald Green's an H-Town guy. I love all of them playing together, but they didn't have the Trevor Arizas. They didn't have the Luke Batamutes. They didn't have long guys that are incredibly versatile that they can switch on defense and cover everything. So they struggled with defense and rebounding and their front court because they just didn't have the size for it. Al-Farouq Aminu was a guy that I really, really hope they tried to convince to take the mid-level exception or maybe even a veteran minimum, because he would have been absolutely incredible on this Rockets team. Obviously, he goes to Orlando instead, but they needed to do something, because running it back with Chris Paul and James Harden, or running it back with James Harden and then Chris Paul's bad knees, bad hamstrings, and then a terrible contract, and then the sack of potato chips that they had, they needed to make a big move. And the defensive side of it, at least from the backcourt perspective, Harden is a better defender than people think. I know he gets clowned on because
it's about the effort.
The effort's not always there.
It's about him actually getting down the fucking court and being able to
That's absolutely true. And the effort there, it's better in the playoffs, but it's not always there, and that's why he gets clowned on. The problem is Russell Westbrook is an incredible defender. Russell Westbrook could be all defense if he wanted to be. If you look at his numbers from last year, he ranked fourth in point guards in, I think it was defensive plus minus and defensive win shares, one of those two. But he was playing like a defensive player of the year, all defense team kind of defense for the most part for the majority of the season. He's a really, really good defender. But if there was such a thing as blow by rate, Russell Westbrook would also rank super high on that, because he goes for way too many stupid steals and then he rests on defense way too much. So the backcourt, for the most part, if they're engaged, they could be one of the better defensive backcourts in the NBA. But the problem is they have to be engaged. And so that's another concern with these guys. How engaged are both of them going to be on defense all the time?
Is it possible? Mm-hmm. Is this possible? And I love this for me, that this could actually be more dysfunctional than last year.
there's a huge possibility,
especially going late into the playoffs, trying to get into the playoffs. Either it's going to be so competitive they're going to be one of the lower seeds and have trouble getting in, or I can't see them being a top seed. I mean, obviously, if everything goes right, maybe they can get, I don't know, third or fourth. But you've got to put both LA teams and Golden State easily in the top three, and then there's so much other.
Don't forget about the Nuggets.
There.
The Nuggets were number 2 in the Western Conference. The Trailblazers are going to be right there. The Spurs might be better.
So they're going to have conflict. Things are not going to be going right for them. They're going to be arguing all the time. Is it possible it's actually going to be worse?
I don't think it's going to be as bad if the team had Chris Paul, James Harden, and Jimmy Butler on it, right? That from a watching good basketball standpoint, I wasn't looking forward to it. But from a sports media, I need drama standpoint, I was super excited for the possibility of Jimmy Butler here. So I don't think it's going to be that bad. I honestly, I know
drama's pretty high with Westbrook. You got a pretty good deal no matter what.
But he's loyal to his teammates, though. The one thing I will say about him, when it comes to media, he's kind of a dick. When it comes to fans, sometimes he can be a dick. But the one thing I will say about him, if you go look, people try to divide the team. He says, no, it's not about when I'm off the court, the team is bad. We're all bad, or we're all good together. Kevin Durant, people were calling Kevin Durant out when he was still in Oklahoma City, and Russell Westbrook said, no, we're in this together. So at least the one thing he is always loyal, and he's always loyal to his team, and he's always loyal to his teammates. And so I'll at least give him that. The drama is going to be awesome, though, because he does get heated and aggressive with teammates. So does James Harden. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, if things are going really, really bad and they start going on, like, I don't know, they go like 1-9 or 2-8 in a 10-game stretch to see how they react with each other. I can't wait to be in the arena for those games. I'll tell you that. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch no matter what. No matter what, it's going to be entertaining basketball to watch. And I think maybe the biggest problem that they could have is James Harden getting pissed with Russell Westbrook if Russell Westbrook's just chunking up shots and missing them all the time. If he is as inefficient going forward as he has been the last 2 years, then that's going to cause a lot of problems between the two of them. Where would you officially put them in the Western Conference? If you had to rank them, where would you put the Rockets after the Westbrook trade?
Probably 6th or something.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking 6th. Because there's too many other good teams. Maybe 5th. I might put them above the Trailblazers, but I just can't put them above both the LA teams, the Warriors, and the Nuggets.
The Blazers just destroyed the entire Thunder roster.
Yeah, they
Damian Lillard fucking blew up the entire team by himself. So I'm putting the Blazers ahead.
Ahead of the Rockets? Okay.
I'm putting the Spurs ahead. The Spurs could have nobody playing for them, and I'd probably always believe in whatever the hell Popovich wants to do, no matter what.
You know what? Honestly, that might be where I could average 10 points a game is playing for Popovich. Because he literally maximizes the talent of everybody on his team. I'm just saying, Pop, I can make those threes. Sign me to like a 10-day contract. Let me show you what I got. I'll average 10 points for the Spurs. I'll do it. I've escalated now. We've gone from the Chinese Basketball League to the NBA with the San Antonio Spurs. So let's move on.
Cool.
Let's move on from the Westbrook thing real fast because let's get to what
By the way, if there's anything that I couldn't love more is that Chris Paul is back on a Thunder team that is totally cleaned house and is going to be like one of the worst teams. Now, the Thunder not only have Sam Hinkie, right? It's Sam. He's the GM of the Thunder.
It's Sam Presti.
Yeah. Sorry. He had Westbrook. He had Durant. He had
Harden. He had Harden at some point. He had Ibaka.
Doesn't win a ring. Cleans house the entire team. They've got a lot of picks. They're going to be like the best team in 2030, by the way. Oklahoma City Thunder are going to be a sick team in 2030, 2031 with all the picks that they've got.
You know what?
And now Paul goes back there. Fucking beautiful. Just beautiful.
I think it's hilarious because I wasn't a huge Chris Paul fan at all until he came to Houston, and I still wasn't a huge Chris Paul fan. But there is a little bit of serendipity to him just being on an absolute tanking rebuild organization where he's just going to have to sit there and be a pile of garbage. Like, the Thunder literally just brought him in they were like, Russ, we love you. Let's put you in a good situation because we're rebuilding. And let's bring in Chris Paul because everybody hates you. Nobody wants to play with you. And let's just put you in this shit situation. The one thing I will say about Sam Presti is it takes a lot of balls when you've got an MVP candidate and a former MVP on your team. It takes a lot of balls to say, you know what, we're not winning anything. Let's just go ahead and reset now. Let's get rid of Paul George, send him where he wants to go. Let's find a good place for Russell Westbrook. Let's go ahead and reset. So I'll at least give him that. Presti does a good job of making moves. It just didn't pay off for him. But this one, maybe this does. Maybe they are the best team in 2030. Another team that might be a good team in 2030. Who knows? It depends on how RJ Barrett works out. Did you feel that segue? Did you like that segue into that? So the New York Knicks miss out in free agency, which this is why I originally wanted to have you on to talk about free agency and the Knicks missing out. And I kind of know what it's like to be a disappointed sports fan. I'm a fan of the Texas A&M Aggies. I'm disappointed quite often with a lot of the things that they do. The Mavericks disappointed me in 2006, but they made it better on my birthday in 2011 when they won a championship. Being a fan at my age of the Cowboys has been wildly disappointing, which is why I stopped being a fan of them because of Jerry Jones for a while. So I know disappointment. but I don't think I could ever come anywhere close to the disappointment that Knicks fans have felt and feel right now, after for an entire season or more, everybody was saying it's Kyrie and KD. Nick Wright, who obviously works on Fox Sports. Nick Wright is I interned under him. He and I know each other really well. He's a friend of mine, and he kept saying, no, KD's going to the Knicks. KD's going to the Knicks. And they miss out on both of them. Kyrie and KD go to the Nets. We hear that James Dolan didn't want to give out a full contract. I don't know if I'm totally right on this, but didn't offer a max contract to KD because of the injury concerns. They also backed out on a Kawhi meeting because they wanted to prioritize Bobby Portis and Julius Randle instead, which doesn't make sense to me. Which, I mean, they're not in the running for Kawhi. I get it. That's actually not that big of a deal. But when you found out, I was playing basketball at the rec center whenever I found out that KD had chosen the Nets and that Kyrie was going to, and I was just so surprised that both of them ended up going to Brooklyn. I kind of had a feeling, but I was really surprised. But like, as a Knicks fan, how does it feel, like, thinking, oh my God, we're back. We're going to have these two guys. We're going to actually make a run for it. We've got some decent talent. Yeah, we had to get rid of Kristaps Porzingis, but we've got Dennis Smith Jr., we've got Kevin Knox, we're going to have RJ Barrett, and we're going to have Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. How does it feel to miss out on that?
Feels like a Knicks fan, man. It feels like every other year of the last 15 years of being a Knicks fan, minus that 1 year we went to the playoffs and won a series.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in my heart of hearts, did I really believe that James Dolan was going to get Durant? No. I mean, did anyone... Okay, look, I know all the, sports media... what's his name you just mentioned?
Nick Wright, who works on...
Nick Wright,
yeah.
Stephen A. is a Knicks fan. I know everyone, wanted to, speak it into the ethos, especially people who have power in the media, who are their, reporters, and who are, breaking news of, where people are going, or who have, influence of hot takes, obviously Stephen has, in terms of, putting it out there, and maybe that'll influence the decisions of the backshot of the players. And everyone's just everyone was just telling themselves that it was gonna happen more than it was happening. I think Kawhi and where he was going is a great example of no one actually knowing what the fuck is going on at all.
Oh, that's such a great point.
And people just saying things that they think would be good for entertainment purposes, or the NBA, or would be a good talking point, or get some likes or retweets or whatever it is. Because obviously, out of every single report that was put out there, the Clippers were never fucking mentioned in any of them. It was always the Lakers or the Raptors or some other thing, and definitely not the Clippers. Yeah. The only other thing was definitely not the Clippers and that fucking guy on Twitter.
There was one time, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Stephen A. that said, I'm hearing that he wants to go to the Clippers with Jimmy Butler or another star. And then everybody was like, then we started hearing, no, it's definitely not the Clippers. You're so wrong. So there was one report. If there's one thing Stephen A., one consolation prize he gets this offseason in this free agency, is that he kind of called the Clippers. But yeah, for the most part, nobody expected him to go. And you're right. That is a perfect example of how NBA free agents work.
So do people really... Okay, the Knicks had the money, of course. They had the room to do it. But I think, if you really, ask people deep down, do you believe in Dolan getting this done? Literally 0% of people, including everyone that works in media and sports, would have said no. There's no one that really believed that Dolan was going to get this shit done. So when the report comes out after that Dolan didn't want to give Kevin Durant a max contract, of course he fucking didn't. Dolan's a dumb motherfucker. Why would you expect him to make a smart decision now if he did a bunch of dumb shit before? Dolan was fine giving out max contracts to terrible players through his entire career of the last 15 years, and now he has the heart. No, I don't think now we want to do it. Now we don't want to give KD a max contract. And that's obviously part of the larger problem, is the Knicks are never going to be good with James Dolan.
No, they're
And
not.
it's always going to come down to James Dolan fucking up the Knicks, just like, I guess, maybe Jerry Jones fucks up the Cowboys. I don't actually even think that Jerry Jones fucks up the Cowboys as bad as Dolan fucks up the Knicks.
Oh, no.
Dolan takes the cake of stupid motherfuckers that screw up their sports teams, and there's no better one that I have closer to my heart than the Knicks. I mean, part of me feels like maybe it's not so bad because the Rangers actually were like a playoff team. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals for a lot of years recently. The last couple, they've been, not so good, but they actually kind of turn it around. I don't want to give Dolan credit for the Rangers like doing well, and I'd rather just keep it all negative on him and just really feel like the Knicks are never going to get it done. Something is always going to go wrong with Dolan in the end, screwing up some part of the fucking process. Usually it's around free agency and superstars, and unless we get lucky, which we didn't because we didn't get Zion. I'm sure RJ Barrett is a great player. He's going to end up being solid. I hope he takes over the city or whatever. But even if he turns out to be another, superstar unique player, we'll probably just trade him to Dallas in 2 or 3 years.
Yes, I would
to
love
get a free
that.
agent and then not get the fucking free agent in the end. So I don't care, okay? I don't fucking know. I don't believe in anything. Doesn't matter who we get or whoever is get, and when it turns out to be good, we'll trade away to get a player, which we won't end up doing because they'll realize no amount of money is going to make Dolan be less of an idiot, and he's still going to get the max amount of money anywhere else. And if they really want to play in New York, they can go play for the fucking Nets. Because I'm sure Kyrie and KD, even though they'll be a little bit older in 2 years, are still going to be there, and they'll still be able to get fucking players. So, no, I have no faith in the Knicks doing fucking literally anything ever.
Can I play devil's advocate with you real fast without you hating my guts?
What's it? How could I hate you for playing devil's advocate?
That's true. Yeah.
Be good.
Although,
help me.
although
be my psychologist, okay? Talk to me. Tell me. Please tell me.
You don't want me to be your psychologist. That'd be real bad. We both go, well, I'm already crazy. You'd be right alongside me really fast. I love your RJ Barrett traded to the Dallas Mavericks scenario. I need him as a part of that Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis future.
Yeah,
cool. the one time when everybody knew that the Knicks were going to miss out on free agents was when the owner said, yeah, we're getting rid of this superstar to lure other superstars. Like, obviously, Kevin Knox and Dennis Smith Jr. and Frank Ntilikina, they're going to get it done, right? Like, that's going to be what makes Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving want to come. I do love RJ Barrett. So let's play devil's advocate for a minute. Let's say Ntilikina and Dennis Smith Jr., one of the two of them actually works out. I love Dennis Smith Jr.'s talent. I love when the Mavericks drafted him. I was sad to see him go. The guy's a little head casey from what I've heard and what I've seen, but I do think he's an incredibly talented dude. I do think he's an incredibly talented player. So I think that he could be something for that team. Now, having RJ Barrett and Kevin Knox, I felt way better about Kevin Knox before Zion Williamson stole the ball straight out of his hand the other day in a summer league game, like he was a tiny little baby. But RJ Barrett is an incredibly talented player, like an absolute star. I've been saying all year before the draft happened that I really thought that RJ Barrett was going to end up being the guy that was more of a superstar than Zion Williams. I could be wrong. Maybe Zion ends up being the guy that everybody thinks he's going to be, but RJ Barrett is the all-around complete player. He was the guy that was the most NBA ready. He is the most talented from an overall basketball perspective at this time than Zion is. So if Julius Randle's a really good player too. He was good with the Pelicans. He was good with the Lakers. So
I like Randle.
I think that was a good signing. Now, obviously, it hurts a little bit when Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are supposed to be the prize, and then your backup plan is Julius Randle. But you're literally going to be rolling out there with a squad that's got Kevin Knox, RJ Barrett, Dennis Smith Jr., Frank, and then Julius Randle, and then whatever other pieces there are. That's a pretty good foundation for a rebuild. Like, if they miss out on those two stars and they can't hit, hey, we're the Knicks, we're back, Madison Square Garden's going to be insane, at least they have a really good foundation for to start a rebuild with. That's how I kind of feel with the Thunder. The Thunder now have a good foundation with picks and players to start a rebuild with, but the Knicks might have the best foundation because they've got a guy who could legitimately be a perennial all-star and a dude that's just one of the biggest superstars in the league from a basketball playing perspective in RJ Barrett. So I will play devil's advocate and make you feel a little bit better. I need you to know that I don't know how to take 20 years worth of sadness away from you all in one fell swoop, but I can at least make one offseason feel a little bit better by saying that I do like the talent that's on that team a little bit.
Yeah. Cool.
Did I help at all?
Cool. No, it's good. I mean, we'll be average this year. All right. It gets even worse because when you really think about it and you know how much the East has sucked for so long and how the disparity between the West and the East has just been so great. And then you just see how bad the Knicks are also in one of the worst conferences maybe of all time. I don't think the East has ever been worse. Like it's actually it's hard to think about how bad the East is. And then how bad the Knicks have to be and how bad the East is. So we'll probably still be bad in the bad East, but maybe we'll be okay because the East is so shit. So we'll be okay for this year, and then we'll get bounced in the first round, or we'll like just miss the playoffs, and then we won't get a good pick at all. Like it'd be great if we tanked again, but I think we're probably now too good to tank.
Yeah.
At this point,
yeah,
so the Knicks are too good to tank, and then so we'll be okay. It'll be like great. A few games at the Garden, we'll win maybe one playoff game, maybe we'll win two, maybe, but I kind of doubt it. Probably one playoff game in the Garden. I mean, maybe we'll win two in the series, one inside of the Garden before we lose in the first round to like the Pacers or something, or the Bulls will probably be good for no reason. So and then it'll be. We have one more year to get we'll get a pick. We'll probably draft someone. Who knows if that turns out to be well. We'll have
and then
one
they'll get traded
year.
away. They'll get drafted, get good, and then get traded away.
Yeah, because the next big free agency is 2021, right?
Yep.
So in 2021 or for the 2020 season, we'll have another good average season where it's bullshit. And we maybe win 2 home games, maybe win a playoff series. I actually highly doubt it. I think we actually go backwards in 2021.
Do you get negative wins in 2020 and 2021?
No, but I think like we win. Like I think maybe we get like 44 this season, or 45 or 46 or something, and then we go back to like 40 to 42 or so, whatever it is, which is still good enough to like 8th or 7th in the East, because as we've explained, it's terrible there. And then in 2021 we free up all of this cap space because all the deals are what were
2-year deals.
2-year deals.
Yeah, they're all 2-year deals.
On the third year, and we won't renew any of them. Because any of the good players end up being like really solid in the next 2 years, we will not renew.
Right.
Right. Because why would you want to do that? We got to clear up cap space.
You don't want to renew Bobby Portis? Come on, man. You got to keep him around. He hasn't even done anything for the Knicks yet, but I can already feel the Bobby Portis contract.
And then okay, so who's free? Where is the 2021?
I think so. Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be the Greek Freak is going to be one. He's going to be the number one guy. But Kawhi Leonard signed his deal to be a 2-year deal with a 3rd-year player option to put him in line with Paul George, which means the summer of 2021 is going to have the Greek Freak, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George all as free agents.
Okay, that's great. The Knicks will get 0 of those. The Knicks will put in a position to get all 3, and all of the media in the world, just like this time, is going to hone in on those 3 players all going to New York together.
And yeah, it's going to be... Can you imagine Giannis and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard?
Yes.
Paul George and Kawhi Leonard just won 2 championships. Now they're going to team up with the Greek Freak with the Knicks.
Yes, exactly. We're going to get rid of all of the players that have done so well. Probably trade Barrett and before this
to the Mavericks.
Season.
Yeah, we'll take him. We'll take him into that cap space.
Mm-hmm. And then Stephen A will be everyone to the Knicks. We'll have, your boy Nick Wright, everybody to the Knicks. We'll get all of SNY, all of Daily News, New York Post, all the time on these 3 guys going to the Knicks. And then Kawhi re-signs with the Clippers, and both of them go to the Nets.
And it's just gonna be you sad and crying in your apartment, like I would be if I lost out on all those players. But at that point, they'll probably, you know what? I don't think they'll be good enough. They'll be good enough to make the playoffs, so they'll have a lottery pick. So at least then, in 2 years, when y'all miss out on all those free agents, you'll get another lottery pick after you trade RJ Barrett away. So you just keep. It's like a rinse, repeat type of thing. You just keep recycling the same strategy over and over again. And at some point, James Dolan, it's got to work, right? It's got to work at some point. Well, dude, I am absolutely sorry. As a Mavericks fan, I feel kind of bad. I feel like I'm part of the problem because now I'm going to be avidly cheering for Kristaps Porzingis to come. Kristaps and Luka are going to be absolutely insane together. Kristaps, I think people, because he was injured last year, he was injured for so long, I think people forgot just how freakishly good Kristaps Porzingis is as a basketball player. And so watching him and Luka together is going to be fun. But I feel bad that I get to enjoy that, but at least you get to watch RJ Barrett. What were some of your favorite things? Some of the other free agency moves, the guys that went to other places. Like one for me, Al Horford to the 76ers, I thought was just, that blew me away whenever he went to Philadelphia. But what were some of the other moves that you really liked around the NBA?
I thought Butler going to Miami is cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Miami's been run down, kind of.
Yeah,
so
since all their superstars left.
It's good to see my boy Bill. Pat. Whoops, wrong Riley. Wrong Riley or O'Reilly.
Yeah, that's the wrong Riley.
My boy Pat. Always keeping it real down there.
Yeah.
Being able to recruit people. I know everyone's talked about it, but I really do respect Kawhi's decision.
I do too.
Of going to the Clippers. It is so fucking good that he did not go to the Lakers or something like Golden State or some shit like that. Is absolutely ridiculous. And I think he's made the league better. And I don't know.
I think Kawhi to the Clippers, if he'd have stayed with Toronto, the NBA would have had even more parity. But him going to the Clippers not only saves some of the parity in the NBA and in the Western Conference, but it also creates awesome storylines about the two LA teams against each other, pitting Kawhi against LeBron. Like, he really, honestly, I feel like he wanted to go to the Clippers, so he's from LA. Paul George is from LA too. And so they've known each other for a really long time because of that. But I really feel like he wanted to make LeBron James he wanted to be LeBron James's daddy. Like, he wanted to show you, like, one of us is going to be the bigger powerhouse in LA, and it's not you, LeBron. One of us is actually going to do something and win a championship with his team, and it's going to be me. So I absolutely respect that decision. I love it. Originally I thought he was going to stay in Toronto, but I knew for a fact from the guy that Kawhi is and that we've known the type of player he is, the type of guy he is, I just never in a million years could have ever seen him going to the Lakers. Ever.
From what I understand, he always wanted to go back to LA. I think he has family in LA, and that was always the intention. I actually didn't see him really staying with the Raptors. But yeah, I don't think going to the Lakers is ever a true.
No, I just thought he would stay on the Raptors because he won a championship with them, but
yeah, I
was wrong. He goes to the Clippers. Okay, so I want to move into a couple of things. Well, let's move out of basketball and move out of sports. Let's move into the realm of your expertise, and let's move into esports. One of my favorite things that you do on Twitter is anytime there's esports on TV, you peruse Twitter and find some of the best comments of just general sports fans or general people just spewing the most vitriolic poison about esports and about video games ever. And so, like, here's my thing with this, and then I'm going to absolutely give you the floor and let you go with this. But, like, how long do you think it is before we'll see detracting voices as the minority and the average person, for the most part, accepts esports as a legitimate TV viewing experience? Because, like, I get that sentiment a lot coming from the traditional sports media world that I've been a part of the group that helps. I want to be a part of the group that helps, like, marry esports and traditional sports coverage. Like, I want to be a part where it's like I help bring those two worlds together. I told you that before we even started doing this. That's what I want to be a part of. I want those things to be one and the same, and at some point they're going to be, but sometimes it just feels like the deeper I get into the esports world, which is like, it's not very deep. I thought because I I was a gamer and I liked following a couple of games. Like Smite was the one game that made me dive really, really deep into esports. And even then, I'm still on just scratching the surface. I'm still trying to learn so much more about CS:GO, trying to follow Overwatch League. I'm laughing at all the hilarious attempts that Fortnite keeps making at being an esport. And like, I'm learning so much more about this world, and it's so incredibly in depth, and it could be one of the best following and viewing experiences for a general sports public. They just don't know it because they see video games and then they're bleh. But I want to be a part of like one of the traditional sports media professionals that helps bridge the gap between traditional sports and esports, not because I want to make a bunch of money and buy a yacht, but because I want to say, no, this is a legitimate competition with players that work tiringly long hours, grueling schedules, and it's every bit as legitimate as football, basketball, baseball. And I don't think we're far off from that, but man, seeing some of those comments that you find on Twitter, we're not close. We're not as close as I thought we were. I don't think we're terribly far, but we're definitely not close. But like, how long do you think it'll be before it's more widely accepted amongst a general audience?
Well, first things first, good news and bad news, both for you. Doing esports media will not help you get a yacht anytime soon.
No, it won't.
You will not have to worry about that. It's not a problem. I do want to preface this is that we are talking about American media, especially American-focused media. Esports has been on television in Korea since the late 90s, early 2000s. Mm-hmm. And Korean television was one of the direct causes for why esports got so big in that country. Not only was it, so it was such a part of the culture that the TV was one of the major sponsors of the league itself. Like the league, the On Game Net Star League, was run on Game Net, the TV channel. Mm-hmm. And the other one was the NBC Star League, run on NBC, the TV channel in Korea. So in a region like Korea, you had the TV channels actually way ahead. And that is why Korean PC bangs, which are like PC cafes here in America and Europe, got so popular over in Korea. And that's a big reason why Korean esports has been so far ahead of almost every other region in the world. A big part of it is the internet culture in Asia and how fast the internet is and the internet infrastructure over there. That is definitely part of it. But, video games being accepted and being more part of the culture and being on television is something that does happen. It's just not here in America. So when you're talking about America specifically, I really kind of do think it's going to take a while. And I don't think it's just video games. Like, soccer is the biggest sport in the world total, mm-hmm. because it is the official sport. Football is the official sport of Europe and the UK, which we're not going to include Europe anymore. Actually, I don't know what the fuck that means. And all of South America, and it's the official sport of Africa and most of Eastern Europe. It's pretty much the official sport, the number one most played sport in 80% of the world or whatever. It's the official sport of the globe. And it's still, to this day, not like primetime American television. And even when soccer, which is the number one sport in the world, football, mm-hmm. is on American television, maybe you won't get the same type of comments, but you actually get still people talking shit about soccer and football.
You football. Absolutely do.
European football. So you get people talking shit about the biggest sport in the world. It's just because here in America, things are a little bit different culturally than the rest. And in a lot of ways, we are the most behind in different factors because of what the most popular sports are here in America, and how, in terms of esports, how we view video games and technology and the internet. And in a lot of ways, Asia is way further ahead of us in that way. And even in Europe, there are places like Sweden and the Nordic countries which have been way more accepting of esports traditionally, and their television channels have also had way more positive experiences because the culture over there is more used to this esports and video game culture. So in a lot of ways, America has just been behind on everything, whether it's fucking video games and esports or whether it's football, soccer, the biggest sport in the world. America, in some ways, just can't get its fucking shit together. So I don't actually like I expect these kinds of comments to continue for a good while. Like I still think in 5 years, um, let's just say, the Overwatch League media rights for Twitch are ending this year, and because the Major League ML BAM was bought by Disney, that killed the ML BAM Riot deal.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a I think very realistic possibility scenario where like ESPN is bidding for Overwatch League rights, or League of Legends rights for the next coming years, and maybe that gets on television, right?
Yeah.
I think the amount of complaining is only going to increase. Like, I don't actually think
no.
there's going to be less complaining, like, the more time it's on. I just think that the more it's on, the more complaining there's going to be, and there might not really be a decrease in the amount of complaining. There's going to be more people noticing, therefore more commentary, complaining, and then there will continue to be the back and forth. I do think some of the more professionals in the industry, whether they work like yourself in media or in sports, are seeing it more and more, and especially as a lot of people's kids are playing Fortnite and they're getting... I mean, one of the biggest reasons that esports has had more acceptance is that every big executive in the country, their like 9 or 10-year-old son or daughter is now playing Fortnite like every fucking day, or they're playing Minecraft or whatever, and they're exposed to video games and like internet creation, internet content creation and gamers and everything all the time. That's only going to now like help things more than ever. Is really every top executive's kids playing games helps. So I think it's probably going to help a little bit in terms of the way the media covers it. They're going to be like, oh, okay, we actually kind of like understand it, even though we still don't care about it. At least they're not gonna be like, well, what is this thing? They're just gonna be like, oh, I know this, and I still fucking hate it. Like, I think that's
mostly where we're at right now. Yeah,
that's where we're gonna go. We're gonna go from what the fuck is this? I don't get this to I know this. Fuck this thing. This is bullshit.
Yeah, still fuck this.
Yeah, fuck this. But I get it now.
It might not be until like, so my kids. You're talking about content creation. Like, my kids don't really watch Netflix anymore. They don't really watch Hulu. They don't watch kids cartoons because they watch fucking Dan TDM and the pals on YouTube like 24/7. Every single chance they get to consume any kind of video content, it's never TV, it's never movies, it's YouTubers. And it's YouTubers playing games. It's YouTubers playing Minecraft and Roblox and stuff like that. And I do think that at some point it's all going to get better, but it's going to take until obviously it's gotten better now because people like us, we're getting older. We grew up around video games. We grew up playing Team Fortress 2, Unreal Tournament, and all of these games. And we want to bring this world to a bigger life. We want to professionalize this world. And obviously people more so like you than people like me, because I'm just now really falling deep into this world. But like, the media rights, I think, is a massive thing. Them being able to make money and earn revenue off of media rights is going to be absolutely huge, because right now the majority of it's just investments. The majority of the money that's there is just people investing a bunch of money, and then there's some merchandise sales, there's some the IP rights that are sold, and media rights is becoming a larger portion. It's probably the second most, and some of the research that I've done, it's like the second biggest portion, but there's still a huge disparity between investment and media rights. Once people like the Disneys and the Foxes, once they start buying into the rights on this, that's when we're going to see it a lot more. And I didn't even think about going through a rough patch of more visibility means more bullshit. I totally didn't think about that. But I think once we get past that rough patch and it starts to become normalized, and then this younger generation of kids who loves games, who loves esports, who's used to this, they come up. I mean, there had to have been dudes back in forever ago that were like, what's this fucking football thing? Were you just throwing a ball around? You think that's a career? Go work out in the farm, you idiot. Stop doing that shit. That's just a damn game. Like, at some point somebody said that, right? And so maybe a generation or two from now, maybe that's, and I'm really hoping it's like my kids' generation. I'm hoping it's that generation that comes up and esports is more widely accepted in the United States from a TV viewing experience, because it's incredible to watch. Like, I think that my favorite live sporting event, my two favorite live sporting events that I've ever been to, one of them is going to a Texas A&M football game. It's hands down, it doesn't matter what game it is. I absolutely love it. But number two was the Overwatch League Grand Finals at Barclays last year in Brooklyn. It was an absolutely electric environment. And I think if people really kind of sat down instead of just hating it and they really were kind of normalized to it, or I guess desensitized to it is one way to put it, and really kind of took in what was happening, and even more than that, got to go see an event live, they'd be like, okay, shit, this is legitimate. Like, this isn't a joke. This is a real thing, and it's actually pretty fun to watch. And maybe it takes a generation or two, but I do think it's going to happen at some point here, because there's one thing I'm noticing is there is an absolute difference between esports and being a gamer. Like, they're intertwined in ways, but just because you're a gamer does not mean you're in esports, right? And I'm learning that very quickly. I'm a massive gamer. my FOMO is so bad I literally have to play everything. I cannot go like, oh, this game's coming out and it's an indie game that's $5 in pre-alpha. I'll pay $25 to play it now. I don't care. And so I am a gamer, and I always have been, but I'm just now starting to get into the esports world. And once you start to get into that and you get really deep in it, you realize how professionalized it really is, how hard these people work. Not the players obviously work really hard, but the people that own the different teams, the people that put on productions. The company I work for, we did the show, the ESPN CEC countdown, and we did the CEC production itself. I never, ever, 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 ever want to do an esports tournament production ever again. I never want to do it. I worked in the military for 6 years. I was an airborne cryptologic linguist in the Air Force for 6 years, and I worked less. I've never worked so much in my life than I did for putting on production for an esports show and an esports tournament. It's incredible. And when people see the legitimacy behind it, I think that's when things are going to start to turn. But I don't know. Until then, I just get to see you posting awesome Twitter comments of people being super angry and just real old man yells at cloud comments about esports on their TV.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know what I got to say? The more this happens, the more content that I have.
That's true. Yeah.
So if people complaining about this is beautiful for me, because I will compile it every time and make fun of them. Especially because they post some great messages. They post some just fantastic fucking commentary. Like, I have learned over the last few weeks a bunch of different things, like gamers are Antifa, and they're pussifying the world.
That's my favorite one, the pussification of the world.
Pussification of the world.
Jesus, man. Like, why is that the pussification of the world? Like, of all the things, like, I don't agree with that sentiment or that phrase in any way, but of all the things you choose gaming, that's the one thing? It's so stupid, man.
It's great. And please, all of you out there, keep sending your messages. They are just awesome. And people have been trying to troll me. Also throughout these, as people have seen me do it more and more, people now are trying to troll, and I've never been caught. So every message has been real. I have made sure every single time that they are all real. I've done some investigating. I've had to DM some people, with some thonk emotes, being like, I don't believe you're actually mad here. I make sure it's accurate content. I will say though that, like, I do think it's going to be your kids' generation. Mm-hmm. I don't know how old your daughter is.
My daughter's 10. My son is 8. So they're okay. A little younger.
Yeah. So, like, really though, it is going to be their generation. Mm-hmm. Like my buddy DJ Wheat, his son is just turned 13, and really, so it's really like your folks' kids, and whenever I have a kid, even though I don't fucking want one ever, like, so whenever that happens, like, it really will be their generation to kind of pass the torch. And who knows if the planet is still around by then?
That's a great point.
the internet should be like super advanced, and maybe by then we'll have like good internet here in America. I don't know about that.
That's not going to happen.
Hopefully, like, things will have really progressed to like the internet infrastructure, and gaming will be so big, and we'll all be on the fucking cloud, and we'll have like zero ping or whatever it is. It'll make things like much easier. But not only that, but
maybe then Google Stadia will actually work by then.
Yeah.
Continue. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, but it's true though. Maybe it's possible. I actually highly doubt it. I don't think it's going to happen. But really, in terms of like acceptance for television, it really doesn't matter because although getting esports on television is always going to increase the amount of audience there is, and there still is obviously quite a large amount of people that are still watching endemic television. There's a reason that like live streaming has taken off through esports, and that esports is like the most watched live streaming like anything in the world. It's not music, it's not like other types of gaming, it's like esports. Like live streaming, the whole technology was like really catapulted by esports. Esports is why Twitch was worth $1 billion. Yeah, there's like other things on the platform, and it's diversified, and there's IRL and other games and variety streamers and whatnot. But really, esports was the backbone. Esports is still the backbone of the viewership of the platform. So because esports has been such a big driver of the entire technology that is live streaming, there is no like it's only going to increase. There's no real reason to go on TV, and all of the younger generation, like your kids, will be watching esports on Twitch online on a stream in like 5 to 10 years. They're not going to watch it on TV anyway. So the amount of, even though we don't really know the future, and TV companies have so much power that as we see they're launching all these streaming services, more than likely they're still going to have so much power in the future. So television is never going to like go away or anything, and everything will probably integrate together in 5 or 10 years. Hopefully everyone's going to figure out like how you buy bundles or subscription services or whatever. And by then I think it'll get way easier. I think TV and internet will probably become more seamless. So getting esports on TV won't be as big of a deal because it'll just be one way to watch everything.
Right. I totally agree with that. I mean, for the people, there are people that say, oh, esports needs to be on TV. It absolutely doesn't. Like, everything can be streamed. It's why I'm doing this show the way I am right now. If I was still at the radio station that I was on, I could not have you on there because my program director would have been like, well, why do you need to have this guy on? You don't need him on. I absolutely do. You're a great guest. You know your shit, and it's a fun conversation. And so I get to do things my way on a digital platform this way, and I don't have to worry about radio. I don't have to worry about TV. I'm doing it on this amazing digital space that everybody's consuming all the time. And so that's why esports doesn't have to rely on TV. They don't have to rely on I guess relying on media rights in a different way is what they want to do, but they don't need traditional television because they can stream anything at any time from anywhere in any way. And so they don't need that at all. Okay, I told you this was going to be like 30 or 45 minutes, and I held you way over that. So real fast.
That's cool.
Real fast. It's been a great conversation, and I got in the middle of it. So real fast, I want your thoughts on the Overwatch League. The Stage 3 playoffs started tonight. I need 2 things from you. NYXL obviously was dominant in Stage 1, only went 5-2 in Stage 2. They fell back a little bit, but then 7-0 in Stage 3. My 2 things, how do you feel about your NYXL right now? And number 2, do the Houston Outlaws have a snowball's chance in hell of making the playoffs at the end of the season?
The Outlaws have been playing better.
They didn't go 0-7 this stage.
They didn't go 0-7. They won, I believe, like maybe didn't they? I think they won like 5 of the last 6 games. Yep. So they're like okay right now. I think it really depends if 2-2-2 is going to be implemented. It Blizzard really doesn't want to. This is everything it's behind. It's that Blizzard just so strongly does not want to fundamentally change the game.
Right.
And this inaction,
it's been like that all season,
is a big deal. Like, because we've been asking for 2-2-2 for like a year and a half now. So, if they implemented it a year ago, we wouldn't have had to go through all of this. But now, like, we have gone through everything. And, like, at the end of the All-Star break, the middle of the season, everyone thought that 2-2-2 was going to be put in. But then Blizzard pulled back at the very end and decided not to. And then Ghost ended up being the meta again for most of Season 3. Not Season 3, but Stage 3 so far. 3, yeah. And now that has put the discussion back on the table where 222 is pretty much 100% confirmed. But now, even in the last like maybe week or two, and I actually haven't been watching the games tonight.
It's Houston and Vancouver right now, I think.
Yeah. But Goats is not played all the time, and there has been some more DPS and some of the other options we have seen come out. It's just like generally, predominantly, if you want to win, you do play Goats more often. Mm-hmm. So Blizzard is still like hoping and praying that these teams win with DPS characters themselves, and that they play 222 without being restricted and forced into it. Because Blizzard, once they pull the switch on 222, they can't go back.
Right, exactly.
They really just don't want to, and that is making it harder for them to.
If they do the 222, what do you think that does to NYXL? Because last season, in season 1, one of the biggest change that happened was the introduction of Brigitte, which completely screwed NYXL in the final run through the playoffs, because the NYXL was so successful with the I can't remember the name, the rush strategy, where they would just rush the dive strategy. Thank you very much. And then Brigitte obviously kind of changed the meta whenever she was introduced. And so would 222 affect NYXL in the same way, or are they still going to be okay if Blizzard does decide to go to the 222 method?
No, they would get helped.
Yeah.
I mean, it is that
helped. They've gone 7-0 in 2 stages.
Yeah, I
they
know,
don't need to be helped more.
No, see, this is what the thing is, though. Like, they did blow up in the playoffs last year, but there was not that wasn't like the excuse for why they lost. Like, the reason they're winning so much is that even though Brigitte has been introduced and that the meta is now Goats, their best player is still Jonak.
Yeah,
and
that's absolutely true.
Because Goats is still based with Zen, because I'm a Zen player myself, they still have their best player playing his best hero. So that even though the overall meta change, they've been able to be so good because they can still rely on their carry player to play the same hero, which is very, very important.
Right.
I mean, I think that a lot of people don't realize that even though, like, we see people go from Zen to Ana, to Mercy to Moira, like, very often, and they're pro players and they can do it, as someone who's played, like, at a pretty high level myself, there are very, very few players that can be equally at the very top tier on multiple heroes.
Right.
And Jonak, as good as he is on Ana, is not as good on Ana as he is on Zen. And someone like Jaehong, who is a all-star player for the Seoul Dynasty, his all-star hero has always been Ana. And because Zen has been meta for, like maybe a year because of Goats and Dive, year and a half.
Yeah, about a year and a half.
That has been actually part of the problem for Seoul, is that he was never as good on Zen as he was on Ana, which is what made him like a superstar player.
He's incredible
to begin
on
with.
Ana.
Yeah, because Ana was meta for, maybe 2 years herself, because maybe not 2 years, maybe a year and a half. And that is why he was so good. And part of the problem with him not living up to expectations in Overwatch League so far is because Zen is the thing that's been meta the whole time. So even though NYXL has had to play a different comp, they still have Jonak playing Zen, and that's why they're so good. The problem is in the playoffs, they don't have someone like Seobi to come in and to play star DPS role. The Brigitte part is the thing that is like giving them trouble when it comes to like top teams in the playoffs. They're able to play, really solid in the regular season and win games, but then their general Goats maybe isn't as good as the top teams are when it really comes down to it. Also, NYXL, just like New York sports teams, they're not able to come through in the clutch in the playoffs. They really underperformed in the playoffs. They were supposed to win season 1.
They were.
They had to, and it was in their home city, and they couldn't even make it to the finals. And so far in the stage playoffs this season, they've been favored and have lost again against teams than they should have. So not only do they have, some smaller fundamental problems when it comes down to playing good teams because they don't have their star DPS players in the roles that they need to be. It's also, I don't really know what it is. It just feels like general New York sports team behavior.
It's James Dolan's rubbing off on him. It's the James really, Dolan aura.
Well, no. You understand that the Mets are about just as
that's
run
true, yeah.
poorly as the Knicks are. Okay, don't give any passes to who are the Mets owners again?
I don't even know if anybody knows. I don't think anybody knows who the Mets owners are.
No, the Wilpons.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that the Mets were even a team in professional sports, if I'm being honest.
You know, the Wilpon's son, who's like helping run the NYXL, been very nice to me. Okay, been a very cool guy. I don't have any personal problems with them, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Mets ownership is rubbing off on NYXL in terms of in the playoffs. So,
do you think the Mets ownership?
You know what? They need to beat Shanghai in this game coming up.
Yeah. Well, when are they playing Shanghai? When is that game?
40 minutes.
Okay, so it's the second. It's the second game of the night. Oh my God! I've kept
Houston just got swept.
Oh, of course they did. That makes sense to me.
I mean, that was gonna happen.
Yeah, I feel like now you can rub that in a little bit to me. You can rub in the the Outlaws aren't making the playoffs. The only chance they have of making the playoffs is to go 7-0 in stage 4, and it might happen. If Blizzard makes it go 2-2-2, it might happen, but the fact that the Outlaws they either have to be forced to play Goats, which takes Linkser off of Widow, which they need Linkser on Widow to be successful, but they also need a meta that allows him to be effective on Widow in the first place. And so, the Outlaws have no chance of making the playoffs. That's fine. I'm okay with it.
No, if 2-2-2 goes through, Outlaws
they'll be good.
Yes, Outlaws will be good.
Yeah,
if 2-2-2 goes through, Outlaws have a chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah, because they've got great players, and the conversation with the Outlaws has always been it's a bunch of really good players that have never played together, and they don't have a lot of synergy. I like why am I forgetting? Cool Matt is a great player. Jake is a great player. Linkser's a great player. Why am I forgetting their freaking Mercy? Oh my God! Come on,
Bonnie.
No, what? Yes, Bonnie. Thank you very much. But they have a lot of really, really good talent, but they just don't play well with Goats because it takes almost every single one of them off of the characters that they're effective with, and so it sucks. It sucked watching them, and it sucked watching how frustrated they've been all year being forced to play Goats, and they just haven't been able to figure it out. But if it goes 2-2-2, then maybe they have a chance. If it does not,
don't get me wrong. Literally every Overwatch player is frustrated playing Goats.
Oh yeah,
I
don't doubt that.
New York or the fucking Outlaws, everyone is pretty much fucking done with this.
You know it's good when all of your players in your league hate the meta that you've created, right? Isn't that a good thing?
Isn't it?
But all right, I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. I held you way too long, and I apologize for that. But dude, thank you so much for coming on. The conversations were great. You were an absolutely great guest, and I hope you come on again sometime.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it. Anytime you need someone to complain about the Knicks,
it might happen a lot this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do quarterly updates on the Knicks, or we'll do bi-monthly updates on the Knicks. I'll just have you come on and do 10 minutes about why the Knicks suck this time, and we could do that. But tell everybody where they can find you on everything.
You can find me on Twitter at Slasher, and then you can just Google my name, I guess, or something. That's good enough.
Really, at Slasher on Twitter. That's all you need to know. And the next time you see any kind of Overwatch League or any kind of video games on your television, go to at Slasher on Twitter and find some of the awesome comments that he finds up. And if you just generally want an incredible esports follow on Twitter or a good basketball sports follow on Twitter, go follow Slasher. But dude, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all of you watching tonight. Thank you so much. And I'll be back again Tuesday night, 9 o'clock.